Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Extra happy Monday because it's a victory Monday. We love that. Hope you all are doing well. We'll go through some of your comments, of course, off the back of the Rogue Invitational. I am in a familiar setup to a lot of you, I'm sure, at Big Law's official HQ. Spending a day down here just training, hanging out for a little bit because we're going to not see each other until likely the Arnold. So big gap, spend a bit of extra time with Laws, Liz, family, and others. Let's get stuck into the comments. Lots of congratulations, Detective Wabuffet. Hope you are doing well. Good to see you in here. And a congratulations. You asked me to unblock you on Instagram. I blocked you for a reason, so no. Here we are. The split time showed you were the fastest on power stairs apart from the yoke. Do you think you could have won the power stairs at strongest man on earth if you needed to? It's a really hard question to answer because I can do things really, really well when I'm put under pressure and I have to. And when I don't have to do something, it's just this weird shut off for me. I think I've showed that I can be really competitive on power stairs. Now, these were different. These were shorter than power stairs at strongest man on earth. So I would need, I think, slightly better execution. But I think I'm physically capable of it. And certainly one of those things that when it comes to the off season, if we continue to build and improve my strength in those types of movements that I'm less familiar with, I think I could be really good. Now, Laws and I worked on that. The entirety of my power stairs training sessions was about 10 minutes in Glasgow. I got the Giants guys to bring the power stairs because I'd never actually learned how to do them. I have sort of a mock-up setup just with a pin at home. But I figured out a couple of things, where to place my feet. That was slightly wrong before. So I think if power stairs show up as strongest man on earth again, I can be really, really competitive on that. Michael Scott, member for 18 months. Thank you very much, mate. I pinned the comment to join the member section. I would estimate 50 plus hours of educational content. It's not about the money for me. It's just about not wanting to put stuff up that's going to kill me on the algorithm. So if you want some more educational strongman stuff, go ahead and click on that join members section. Here's a good super chat. The Death Metal channel. Thank you very much for the super chat. Congrats, Mitch. I love watching men and women compete side by side. Good for Rogue, good for the sport. Also so much fun. I totally agree. I actually thought that was really cool. Really interesting dynamic that they introduced with the farmers into log press. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. They actually did such a good job of every different combination because we were by ourselves on event 1, the max deadlift, and we were by ourselves on the Inverstones. We were with the women on farmers into log. We were paired up for the final event, the circus medley, as well as the push, carry, drag. And we were 5 wide for yoke into power stairs. So whatever format you preferred to watch, you were able to get that in this. And I think that was a really good consideration made by Rogan, certainly one of the strengths of the show. Rex, congrats on the however many wins and podiums we're at now. I lost count. I think it's 22 podiums in a row, and we're on a 6 competition win streak. And I think that was my 15th win. 14 loss? 14. I think 14. Yeah. But to me, more importantly, that's my 6th major title in the last 2 years. I think in a 2-year span, I'm fairly confident that would be the most major titles across 2 years. So it's been a really good run, and I just need to focus on continuing to get better. All right, congrats on another win. I've got a question regarding the kettlebell jerk. Is the standard technique used in kettlebell sport not applicable because the implement is too heavy? I'll keep an eye on a follow-up for this because I don't know what the standard technique used in kettlebell sport is. I have seen actually where they sort of like throw it a little bit and then press it out. That when I tried that, it was just not practical. But I think not practical because we didn't have the time and the exposure to kettlebells of this weight. One of my weaknesses probably is just being a bit cheap. And when an event like this comes out, I don't jump straight onto buying a 200-pound kettlebell. I'll hold 2 kettlebells at once, and I'll just sort of make do with whatever I have. Probably something I should improve on. Laws was trying to convince me that I should buy some more kit, and I probably should. But Yeah, I think it's just not enough exposure to be confident in that technique because we're so used to the dumbbell jump and press that sort of slower press out would be difficult for us to consistently execute. We don't have the end of this question. Whoops, completely ignore. I'm sure it's coming back. Landon Woodfield, are you all healthy? So you checking the biceps after the last event? Congrats on the best strongman year ever. LHPK. I would estimate 90% healthy, not totally. On the first axle, there was a click in my bicep, and that's why I was sort of feeling it and checking it. It's sore today, but I trained a little bit of biceps just to get some blood flow in there today. And I think avoided serious injury. But for everyone who tried to advocate for me doing events when I didn't have to, this is the first time I've done that this year because off season was coming up. And serendipitously, my bicep had a little bit of a tweak. And if that happened 3 weeks ago, I would have had my prep for Rogue impacted. So I think I'm going to stick steady with my decision moving forward that if I don't have to do an event, I'm just not going to do that. Okay, and another good question. Athlete's opinion on the buzzer. Many of us thought it was an odd choice to add to that. Well, I'm putting out a YouTube video shortly, but if an athlete doesn't hit the buzzer, that's their fault. And we've had fans complain for a long time about the hand stopwatch system. And there are some arguments that are valid to say you could do some sort of laser timing or something, but say like a power stairs. You can't really laser time a power stair. So how do we create a more consistent finishing time? Well, the buzzer makes a lot of sense. And frankly, would I rather rely on a referee's hand timer or rely on myself hitting the buzzer? I would rather rely on myself hitting the buzzer. The more things that I can have under my control, the more confident I am and the more comfortable I am with the fairness of the competition. In the competition, even though there was a couple of instances of people forgetting to hit the buzzer, it happened to I think it happened to Rebecca on the stones. It happened to Tom on the medley. Nobody actually lost placings because of that. So I don't think it's a major problem. Tester Blazer, Hooper, do you not believe in using change and resistance bands in your training to improve your explosiveness? I would say I'm one of the more explosive athletes in the world at the moment. So it's not a particular training focus for us. If I was advising someone on how to be more explosive, it's possible that I would introduce that sometimes, but at a certain stage, it comes down to practicality and having the perfect setup for bands, the perfect setup for chains. The gym that I train at, I just wouldn't feel comfortable using chains. It's a commercial gym and chains are really noisy and can be off-putting to people, so I just wouldn't do that. But I've gotten to where I've gotten to without using bands and chains. Most of the top-level guys are that way as well. I think that's reasonable evidence to say that it's not required in order to get to the top. Super chat. Nothing there, Ibrahim, but thank you very much for the super chat. I hope you are doing well. I appreciate that, mate. Another super chat. A moment for the veterans on Remembrance Day. Happy Remembrance Day for all who celebrate. A new member, Guy Incognito, thank you very much for joining. Hopefully you can get stuck into that members section and get all of that educational content. Andres Lignitzer, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. And that's a really good way for me to not take something the wrong way. Don't take this the wrong way, but I hope 2025 will be more interesting and Thor will bring back his pressing power and Tom and Evan will improve. Your dominance made predictions too easy. Yeah, 8 for 9 this year. But let's not have a short memory. I did lose this year. And it's something that I'll try not to do next year. I'm focused on my lane, and I expect Tom and Thor and Evan to get better. I hope that they expect me to get better as well, because I definitely will. And there's no shortness of criticism on my end of things that I could improve. So I will continue to work to improve those, to brush through the events and the areas specifically from Rogue that I can improve. My first log clean was a disaster. I was very, very frustrated with myself for that. That costed me a point, and it's been a problem a couple of times. So I need to improve my technique on log cleans. On the arm over arm, my grip endurance on the rope was not good enough for me to hold up with Thor. I think I was also using strokes that were far too short, so I need to clean that up. My deadlift is good enough to come second right now, but with relative difficulty. and pain limited. So I need to clean up I believe my spinal erectors to reduce any sort of pain. My stones, I thought that was really good. I was really happy with that, but I've had issues at Giants Live, so I need to continue to practice my stones and make sure they're cleaned up. The sear dumbbell was uncomfortable for me, and I didn't like that, so I am going to get a sear dumbbell and practice that. So just continuing to find the holes that no one else can see, but I can feel, and exploit those before they become an actual problem. But I will come back better next year. I'm motivated. I'm happy. I'm excited, and I'm excited for an off season. Not because that means I'm going to relax, but because that means I get to train a different style that's ultimately going to make me better moving forward. And I've said this a few times. I don't know how other guys are motivated, but I'm motivated to become the strongest version of myself. I'm not necessarily motivated by winning additional titles, especially now that I've already won them all. I am just motivated to continue to get better. And the thing that I love the most is training. The thing that I love the least is competing. Now, I still love competing. I love getting out there. I have a blast. I like seeing the guys. But I just yearn to get back in the gym whenever there's any sort of quote unquote downtime. So there's no week off for me because I don't want it. I don't need it. And I'm stuck straight into bodybuilding. That would be one of my largest pieces of advice for people trying to become the best. And the best version of themselves. I would say focus on the process and love the process, and whatever the outcome is, it'll start to take care of itself. Ibrahim, thanks again for the super chat. Mitch, I'm doing the commercial gym strongman. I am on the 6th week. I don't feel I need a deload. Once I finish 12 weeks, so I simply repeat. Deload, please, deload, please. You might not feel like you need one, but your soft tissues adapt much slower than your active tissues. I've gotten so many people coming up to me telling me they're on my programs and the progress they're making, and it's phenomenal for me to put out that and for you guys to follow it. But please, please follow it, because I don't want anyone to be getting injured. You do get stronger, absolutely, and when you follow the program, you will make good results. But don't get ahead of yourself. It's way better to go up, slightly down, and up and slightly down, and be able to do that for a long time than to have a big up curve, a big down curve, and That's my background speaking. That's my education speaking. That's my practical experience speaking. Take your deload and restart. Restart your, or not restart, but continue on the program afterwards. After the 12 weeks, you can repeat, but you only want to attack the same goal for so long before you need a change. So I would say that and something else, alternate between those goals. Maybe go to a hypertrophy style program. There's plenty of others that I sell, and other people sell them as well. So I would say keep it in your back pocket. You can repeat it down the track, but I wouldn't do it back to back if you're trying to be as efficacious as possible. Guy Incognito, thank you for the super chat. Still on for 505 deadlift in 2025. Yes, that is going to happen. There has been leeway made, but nothing that I can speak about. But the wheels are turning, and as soon as there's concrete information, I will pass that along to you, as will Thor. One thing I can tell you is that neither Thor or I are interested in just having it as a Thor or Mitch show. We want it to be everyone who's capable and potentially capable of breaking the record involved. That's Trey, that's Matt Ragg, that's Rana Heinle, that's Ivan Makarov, that's everyone who has a chance. So it's not an ego thing. For me, the biggest thing is I want to knock this out. I want to break the world record. 1, personal pride. 2, let's stop talking about it. Let's move on. Let's just get it off of the table. And I know so many people are in the same boat as me, but I think I'm a guy who can make something happen. 420 Swagnamite, thank you very much for the super chat. Hey Mitch, massive congrats on the win and much love from down under. Thank you. I don't get enough love from down under. I absolutely loved my time in Australia and the people that I met there. Australia has a funny thing with tall poppy syndrome, and if you sort of exceed what people would like you to, you sort of catch some bad feelings from people along the way. But question: do you think Thor could have done the record deadlift on the day, and did he say anything about it? Yeah, he had a conversation with Rogue on what the deadlift record would be worth to them. And ultimately, it just wasn't worth enough for him to justify the injury risk and the fatigue for the rest of the show. Do I think he could have done the record deadlift? Now, to clarify, he wasn't talking about 505. He was talking about a raw deadlift, which would have been 1,040 pounds, 30 pounds heavier than his 1010. Do I think he could have done it? I honestly, I think it would be a 50-50. But if you were at the venue, you saw that I ran back out of the tunnel to watch if it was going to happen, to watch him do it if it was going to happen, because I was just excited to witness someone do something so cool. But ultimately, it wasn't the day for it. And I don't think that many people care about the raw deadlift record that Trey set a few months back. A lot more people care about the absolute deadlift record. And I certainly think Thor's in a very short list of people who I would back to do it. And I am as well. Little note on that, to be honest. My deadlift this weekend, my video is coming out shortly, but my deadlift from this weekend was pain limited. It was not strength limited. I was having a bad day with my back, and I think that's just catching up to me with 9 shows this year. Yeah, and people, I've seen comments saying I look tired this weekend as well. I genuinely wasn't tired. I don't know why I looked that way. I think it was more frustration a couple of times that you guys haven't seen a whole lot. I was frustrated at myself more this weekend than I have been in most shows, just because of little mistakes that I've made. So yeah. Simon, thank you very much for the super chat, mate. Good job, buddy. Watching the goat in the making. I try not to concern myself with that. I'll look at that and think about that when my career is over. But who people think is the best of all time is their opinion of me. And I care about the opinion of my friends and my family and myself. And I think I earn that respect from people, not with what I do strongman wise, but with who I am. And that's what I try to focus on, and just making as positive as an impact as I can. And the wins just seem to keep coming, but there's going to be a day where they don't come any longer. So I'm just trying to enjoy it as much as possible for the time being. Here's a question. I like this one. Did you notice others on the same side of you had trouble doing the last few inches of the sled pull? LHBK. No. I didn't notice that, but I'll tell you why I had problems. It was just pure coincidence. There's nothing wrong with the side. There's nothing wrong with the setup or the implement. It was perfect. The sled had to hit a metal, like literally had to hit the thing that we were pulling on, and it was metal on metal. And early in your pull, you're very powerful, and late in your pull, you just don't have that same momentum. So for me, when I went to do that last pull, I was nearly at the end, and then I felt it hit something, and my hand slipped a little bit. That's why I hit the buzzer. But I also looked straight at the ref because I wasn't sure if that was actually the finish. And he told me it wasn't. So if it was early in my pull, it would have just gone straight over that, no problem, hit it. But since it was late in the pull, I just didn't have the momentum to be able to have it carry through that very small ridge. And so that was it. And those are the guys who, myself and Evan, when we were just centimeters away, that was the problem. Not really a problem per se. Just be stronger, pull harder, and it'll be fine. Christy, thank you very much for the super chat. Your question didn't come through. I'm going to try to keep an eye out if you put one. You haven't yet, but thank you very much for the super chat. If you have no question, then I appreciate the support regardless. Guy Incognito, thank you for the super chat. Anything fun with Laws and Liz before you fly home? We had a 7-hour drive from 8 hours, actually, from Aberdeen back down to their hometown just outside of London. And I just have fun hanging out with them. We don't really need to do too much for me to have fun. We had a lot of laughs and sing-alongs and stuff in the car. And those will be the core memories that I don't forget, the time that I get to spend with my friends and the people close to me. So that's really my that's our fun. We're going to go out for dinner tonight and go out with their family. And yeah, it's been really special. I consider them sort of extended family now. And that for me is the most important part to a coach who you really, really buy into and invest in and trust is when you have that connection with them. The program is probably the least important thing that a coach brings at the top level. It's largely the interpersonal relationship, for them to know you, to understand you, all of that. And very lucky to be able to have them come into my life. It's one of the biggest things that I'm thankful for in my time in strongman. Ibrahim, using super chats to keep getting program advice. Guys, moosecoaching.com is where you can find these programs that he is talking about. Could I possibly add bench to the strongman program? It's my favorite exercise, but I don't want it to interfere with my other gains in the program. If you swapped out one of the overhead presses for a bench press, that is no problem. You'll continue to make progress and you won't tire yourself out too much. Elper's Cat, thank you for the super chat. If they made a 2,000-pound bale tote, who can finish it? Wow, 2,000 pounds. So we're talking 900 kilos. I am going to say maybe nobody. Maybe nobody. If it was that heavy, I might put on knee wraps and a deadlift suit just to get some support and not have my spine blow out. I hope that they never do that. The 1,600 bale tote took out so many guys and ended a couple of careers that we probably don't want to see it again. As much as fans want to see me do it, I'm sort of split mind. I think it would be fun. I think I'd be the favorite, but with the injury risk, it sort of falls in the same bucket as tire flips and car flips. It's cool. It's visually appealing. It's grueling, but maybe not the best idea if you want your favorite strongman to continue to compete for a long time. Cody, any local shows coming up near Toronto? Huge fan. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know too much about the local shows other than ones that my friends locally compete in. I don't know of too many, but there's one gym close to me called the Weight Pit. It's about 45 minutes away from Barrie. They hold more strongman shows in Ontario than I've seen from anyone else. There's also a crew down in Niagara. So if you check out those, then it's possible. But I believe Canadian stuff shows up on Iron Podium as well. So that would be a good place to go to. So yeah, I don't have too much information on local Canadian shows, unfortunately. Congrats on the victory. Will you be talking about how you managed to deal with your disc bulge injury in detail? I don't know what the injury actually is. I'm not going to declare it anything for right now. But it's just pain. It's just a bit sore, a bit pinchy. And the thing about injuries is oftentimes it doesn't really matter what it is. It just, how does it feel? How does it feel better? What's your recovery trending like? And we just go from there. So it feels much better today than it did yesterday. Active recovery is for me the number one in continuing to move and stay warm, etc. And that's it for the time being. There's no need to go get an MRI or a scan or anything at the moment because it's already getting better, feeling better. When I hurt my back really bad, that would be 4 years back or so. I was in the gym deadlifting. Something in my back cracked. I ended up actually having to call the ambulance to the gym. I was out on a stretcher. I went to the hospital. And in Canada, the public medical system is great if you're dying, but if you're not dying, it's not the best. So I went in. The doctor literally pressed on my back about 4 or 5 times. And then they gave me enough opioids until I couldn't feel it. I stood up and I walked home, or not walked home, but walked out to my car. Well, my girlfriend, now wife's car. Regardless, I never got a diagnosis for that anyway. So even if I aim to get a diagnosis, it's very unlikely that I could actually get something quickly in Canada, regardless of the money, which is something I think people don't understand. I could have $100 million and ask to get a scan of my back. And that's a bit of a bad example. And asked to be seen by a doctor at the hospital straight away. And it's just not going to happen. It's not possible. You're all just triaged, regardless of situation, of athlete status, of whatever. Manny, we know how good you are at yoke, but it was amazing seeing you do it with 4 other guys. I think that 5 wide structure is awesome. I mean, it certainly takes it. It certainly takes it down in terms of the time that you can enjoy the events because it's obviously very, very short. But I find it so exciting when there's 5 of us there standing side by side. And I've actually never lost an event when there's 5 wide. We did it first at the Rogue Invitational in 2022. That was with the sandbag carry. And now we did it this year with the yoke and the power stairs. Both times I won the event. Something about going head to head with people really seems to get the juices going. And yeah, the yoke component was awesome. I think that yoke was a little bit too light at slightly over 900 pounds. We're used to 1,000 pounds. I think they were thinking about the power stair weight being heavy, but since the power stairs were short, it didn't feel that heavy. So I would have liked to see the yoke a little bit heavier, and I think you would have seen a larger gap between me and the other guys. Regardless, it was cool to see how much quicker I am, particularly in the early acceleration phases than a lot of the other guys. Kevin, best way to train for strongman in a commercial gym? Well, I mostly do this right now. I don't have a strongman gym of any sorts that I train out of. I just finished a home gym down in my basement, so I'll be able to use that. It's so cool. You guys will see it plenty on footage. I'll do a little tour for it as well. So I would say you got to focus on first just getting strong, squat, bench, deadlift, and overhead press. And then once you get strong, then you can throw in things like moving events and carrying. So you can train farmers. In a lot of gyms, farmers are included regardless, but you could do other grip type exercises. I actually released a video last week about different grip challenges that I was doing with people in a commercial gym. And that's pretty good. When it comes to yoke, if you don't have the capacity to do a yoke or you don't have one, you can use a very short box, like a 6-inch box, put a barbell on your back and do step-ups on that 6-inch box, and that'll be close to how it feels to do a yoke. So that's my best advice for training in a commercial gym. Carl, would you get an MRI of your spine for science? I would, sure. Nothing against it, just if I could find the time and someone desired to do it. I used to get DEXA scans, so I know roughly the density of my spine, which is off the charts. The way they do it, it's called a Z-score, and a Z-score of -1 means you have osteopenia, -2 means you have osteoporosis, and that means you're 2 standard deviations away from the average 18-year-old girl, which is how they measure. That's like the standard person for density of bones. And I was plus 3.8, I believe. So 3.8 standard deviations away from the ordinary 18-year-old girl. Essentially, that means that there are very few people on the planet who would have more dense bones than I would. And a lot of strongmen would fall in that category. Clan Holmes, member for 3 months. Thank you very much for the member, guys. I've linked that in the pinned comment. If you want to click onto that, lots of specific strongman educational content over there. Which rugby team did you play for? Do you remember Greg Ernst Strongman? I played rugby. I only played for a year in high school, in grade 11. Just at my high school, I never played any sort of professional or high level. But I was as good at rugby as anything else other than probably strongman. But I believe that I could have gone professional in rugby based on my performances. My best in a game was 7 tries, I believe. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, more so than football, to be honest. And I don't remember Greg Ernst. I don't know too much about him. Another super chat from Ibrahim. Since you estimated your total in powerlifting would be 2412, and that would be number 18 in the world, would you consider going into a comp? No, definitely not. Maybe if what happened to Thor didn't happen to Thor, I would consider it. But I think I am smarter than that right now. And I don't know, I wouldn't transition to a sport that's less popular and less prize money to be number 18 in the world when I can just stick with what I'm doing and be number 1 in the world. It just wouldn't be worth the injury risk, in my opinion. John Owen, thank you very much for the super chat. Great year, many wins. Congrats. Are you still full steam ahead with strongman, or do you have other goals that are starting to interest you more? For the moment, I am full steam ahead with strongman for sure, and I've committed to that next year to every promoter that I've spoke to. I will continue to work hard. I will continue to improve. I'll continue to try to win shows, but the way that strongman works, you have to spend a lot of time away from family. You have to be on the road a lot. You have to travel a lot, and that's starting to wear on me a little bit for sure. I think I need to be a bit smarter next year with other obligations and how much I travel outside the country and outside competitions, and bring family along a little bit more. I travel by myself more often than not. That's my call. My family always wants to come. They always want to come support, but sometimes I just like to do my own thing. Sometimes I don't like a distraction. Sometimes it's just financially traveling my family to Europe 5 or 6 times a year. It's hard for me to justify regardless of whatever prize money and whatnot. So yeah, I love strongman. The day that I stop loving it is the day I stop competing, but I genuinely love it. I want to get back to the gym the day after a show and just get back into training. And I've loved heavy strength training for 13 years now, and I love it more now than when I started it. So I do have other goals for when I finish, but that time is not coming yet. It's not coming next year, and it's not coming imminently anytime soon. Elper's Cats, which title are you most proud of this year? Well, I think Strongest Man on Earth. I think it has to be. That's the only one that I hadn't won before this year. It's also the hardest show in the world by a significant margin. And if you win that, I think street cred wise, that one, I take my hat off to you and anyone else who wins it in the future. It's just designed to absolutely beat the crap out of you to find out who the strongest person on the planet is. And I think there's no question that the person who wins that title is the strongest person on the planet. And I was fortunate to come away with that one. Skinny Strong, thank you for the super chat. There was nothing attached to that though, mate. So I will try to keep an eye out for it coming through soon. Guy Incognito, does a good coach have to be a former strongman? Yes, they have to have competed in strongman in some way, at some time, at some level. If you haven't, you're going to get the physiology right, or you can get the physiology right, and you can get someone strong, but you can't. You're going to be learning on the fly how all of the implements work, how all of the events work, how, if you've never done an axial clean and press, trying to teach someone an axial clean and press is going to be really sort of difficult. I think that's one for Tom and his coach to tackle. Now, thankfully, Tom's been in it for a long time, way longer than I have. But his coach, from my knowledge, doesn't have specific strongman experience. And I met him this weekend. Great guy. Switched on. He seems like a smart dude. He's got a really good following. He seems like he knows what he's talking about based on conversations and his social media posts and whatnot. But I think it would be naive to say that there won't be some sort of learning curve to specific strongman training between the two of them. That's just the first example that comes to mind. But I would say, yes, in a perfect world, a good coach should be a former strongman. They don't have to be world level. They don't have to be a world strongest man champion. They don't have to be even a state champion, but some sort of exposure experience in that to go along with knowledge. And you can acquire knowledge in different ways. Laws and I come to the same conclusions in the vast majority of things, where he comes to the conclusion from experience and I come to the conclusion because of the education, the research, the physiology, but we say the same stuff. So in the end, it really doesn't matter how you acquire the knowledge. It's just that you have it in the first place. J-Sled Strength, thank you very much for being a member for 6 months. I've watched a handful of your videos, and I'm really enjoying it. If you guys want to go check out J-Sled Strength, it's an entertaining channel. Can you just go ahead and throw down the gauntlet and declare a Grand Slam sweep next year? No, I can't. I wish I could, but I went 8 for 9 this year, and it's possible that I have a better year next year than this year, but it's unlikely. It's very, very hard to do what I've done. And I think it would be, it would take things away. It would take away some personal pride if I said next year I'm going to do better, because it's very possible that right now I'm at the peak. That could have been the best year I ever have. And if all I can do is talk about how I'm going to do more and better next year, I think it's going to feel a bit flat. Sort of like when I win a show and I don't do the last events, I don't get the moment of celebration with the fans. Which was a contributing factor to why I did the last event this time, along with it being off season. So I can't declare it, but will I try my absolute heart out to do it? For sure. Do I think I'm the favorite in virtually every show at the moment? Absolutely. It's a lot of pressure, but I seem to be handling it fine. But first we have to start with the Arnolds. Then we go to World's Strongest Man. We just tackle those one at a time. Carl Ibris, thank you very much for these super chats. I found out I have foraminal stenosis at 27 from squatting at the cervical level. Wish I knew that before lifting weights. I found out after I met you. All right. I'm just going to go out on a limb. Now, I don't know you. I don't know your situation. I haven't seen your scans. But foraminal stenosis from squatting at the cervical level is something that is extremely, extremely, extremely unlikely to be true. You're not loading through your cervical spine when you're doing squats. Your cervical spine. So if you kind of lurch your head forward and that bone that sticks out, that's T7. So there's 6 thoracic vertebrae above that. You rest the bar on your thoracic vertebrae. Your cervical is just the top 5 vertebrae. It's just in your neck, basically from here to here. Excuse my lack of distinct neck, but that's your cervical spine. You did not get cervical stenosis or foraminal stenosis from squatting. whatever advice you're getting, it doesn't line up to me in my head. But no diagnosis is a death sentence when it comes to musculoskeletal discomfort and issues. So don't feel that way. Seek out someone you really truly trust who has experience with weightlifting and education in injury rehab, and get them to fully assess you and see what they have to say, because that story doesn't totally line up to me. Jace, 5 memberships. Thank you very much for gifting those. Hopefully those people can enjoy that as well. Toby Lively, here's another one. Shout out to Toby. I watched some of his videos as well. He's training himself. He's on the road to a 300 kilo deadlift. He also covers a lot of the pro strongman stuff. So if you want to go check out his channel, that would be much appreciated as well. These people who have these like little channels who cover strongman, if we can continue to increase that and increase their exposure and their traction and help them with the algorithm, it only helps the sport, and it only helps all of us. It trickles up, and what I do trickles down. It's like how sharks have the fish feeding off of them. It's not that the fish is taking advantage of the shark. The fish is also cleaning the shark and helping it to thrive and survive. I think of it as much the same. It's a symbiotic relationship. John Ackerley, as you age, what's the strategy for staying injury-free? First of all, listening to my body, reasonable programming and progressions, making sure that I take care of my 3 recovery staples, which is nutrition, life stress, and sleep, and doing my best that I possibly can with all 3 of those. And then getting out before I get too old. I don't want to be broken when I'm an older man. And I look forward to losing some weight. I look forward to entering a time in my life where health is the focus. But it's not right now. It will be at some time in the future. Will I be competing in strongman at 35? Maybe, maybe not. That's 6 years from now, for those who don't know me. Will I be competing at strongman at 40? I highly, highly doubt it. And that whatever time in my life that comes that I say it's time to be healthy, that's when I'll rehab the things that I need to fully. I'll lose some weight. I'll get whatever surgeries that I might need to get, whatever joint replacements I might need to get. But injuries are a natural part of pushing your body to the limit, and it's juxtaposed with injury risk and athletic performance. So if you want to perform at your absolute optimal best, you have to accept that some stuff's going to happen along the way. Skinny Strong, member for 5 months. Thank you very much for being a member. Again, guys, that is up in the pinned comment if you want to join there as well. Congrats on the win, bruv. Any reason you say that we don't see? Any reason you will say that we don't see collabs with other strongmen? It would be great to see Brian or Evan. No reason in particular, but when I think about collaborations, I'm not thinking about other strongmen much, because if you think about who follows me and who follows Evan, it's going to be mostly the same people. If there's very little for me to gain because I'm not being exposed to a new audience. I have so many collabs lined up for the next 6 months. So that's, or I should say 3 months. That's sort of off-season stuff for me. But if you contrast, if I shot with Brian Shaw or I shot with Jesse James West, they have a similar level of following, but Jesse has a very different demographic. I would way rather be exposed to the different demographic. So I'm not against it in any way, but that's why they're not the first people who I'm jumping to go do stuff with. I would much rather spend a week with a strongman and film a handful of training sessions with them than just go for a quick collab. It's possible that Luke Richardson comes and visits in the off season. I would love that. Luke Stoltman and I have talked plenty about me visiting in Scotland, and I go up and train with the Stoltman brothers. I've chatted with Thor about going up to Iceland. All of those things are on the cards, and it's not for lack of will or try. It's just for lack of time. So when we find the time and things line up, you'll see more and more. Is your business partner still rooting for you, or does he secretly wish you'd quit? LHBK. I assume you're talking about my business partner with the clinic that we have together. No, he roots for me. He's one of my best friends, and he's cheered me on from start to finish. And I'm very thankful for that, because it would be very easy for someone to get a little bit jaded about that, where I've had to step away. But we manage, and ultimately you don't have a business if you're the one who has to be running it the whole time. And so it's an early litmus test for if we have a true business, and we do. And that's great. It's actually better that way if you can have other people to run it for you, because one day, regardless of the business, you're not going to be able to run it yourself. And it's great to see that other people can do it. It's also given other people opportunity to make a big difference. What we're doing with the clinic, exercise is medicine, is something that isn't seen in Canada in droves at the moment. And now someone has the opportunity to manage that clinic and take that as personal pride, just like we do. So no, he cheers me on. He roots for me. He's happy for me. He's not a strongman fan per se. I didn't even know strongman when I met him, but he's certainly someone who will be in my corner for a long time. Colin Carnochan. Sorry, mate. Oh, that's right. Hello from Scotland, and thank you very much for the super chat. Congratulations on your win. Have you competed in Scotland before? If not, how do you find our country and the fans? Sound like the fans were booing, or was it hoop very loud? Thank you for the question. I get this every single time I compete. I don't think they're booing me. It's my nickname Moose, and it's Moo, and that's generally what they're doing. The double win of that is that I actually don't know if they're booing me, because I assume that they're cheering for me. But to my knowledge, I don't think people are booing me en masse. I've competed in Scotland 3 times before. The World Tour Finals they hold in Glasgow for Giants Live. So I did that 3 weeks ago, and I won that show. I won that show in 2022 as well. That was my my second ever professional win. And in 2023, I was there, and Tom Stoltman won, which is really cool for him on Scottish grounds. So in terms of the country, I think it's beautiful. In terms of the hills and whatnot, I have complaints about the weather, as I'm sure every Scottish person does. But I think if you like nature and you like slower pace, I think it's a really, really good place, and definitely somewhere you could take a camper van around. The fans, I have nothing bad to say about the fans at all. They're so passionate about strongman. They're very, very respectful. And something that I'd like to address to you guys here. This weekend, I've had to say no to more fans than I've had to ever before. And I'd just like to explain the context of that. When it's a group of people, a large group at a show of some sort, if I'm walking somewhere and I stop once, a mob sort of starts to form. And so if you come up to someone like myself or Thor and you ask for a quick autograph, the autograph is not a problem, and I would love to do it. But if you stop for an autograph, people will see that that's occurring, and it'll start becoming this huge, huge line. So you either sort of have to stay forever, or you just have to say, I can't right now, and stick to the meet and greets that are organized. So I'm really sorry to everyone who I couldn't do that with, and I genuinely feel bad, because you guys, I appreciate you so much. But I just would never be able to get where I'm trying to get to if I did stop. And I think I just have to be a little bit more aware now with where I'm at, that maybe I should just try to take back routes or something. But at the same time, I just like to be a normal person. I don't endeavor to be a celebrity. I don't want to be hidden. I don't want security. I don't want anything. I just want to hang out with people and say hello. But sometimes it's just not practically possible. But I love the Scotland fans. I've never had a significant bad interaction with any of them, and they cheer so loud, and they cheer for everyone. Even if it's me against Tom, you're still behind me and you're still cheering for me. I recognize that, and I appreciate that, because in North America, generally, if someone's not your favorite, they're not your team, you're going to stay relatively silent, or you'll boo them, which, again, I don't think people are booing me. So, yeah, love the Scotland fans, and I think for the right person, Scotland is awesome. Jace Love Strength, thanks again, mate. I respect that you won't declare it, but I'm betting on you, Moose. The sport has never seen anything like you before, and it's a joy to witness. Thank you very much for the kind words. I'll let you guys speculate on who's the best and how has this been done before and all of that stuff. I'll leave that to the fans. I think it's best left that way. I'm just really thankful for the position that I'm in, and I'll continue to do my best to make the most of it. Guy Incognito, thanks for the super chat. How close have you been to a real life moose? I have never seen a moose. In fact, I would love to see a moose, but I've never had the opportunity. I got my nickname when I was in Australia. I didn't give it to myself. I love moose. I think they're cool. I think they're really cool, but I didn't give it to myself. I just hold the nickname. So I'd love to see one. I'd love to take a trip, but they're actually very, very rare. Particularly where I'm from, you would never see one. You have to go up north, and I don't spend a whole lot of time up north. So, yeah. Carl, back to the C6, C7 that had it with your squatting. Again, find someone that you trust who has experience in lifting. and get properly assessed. That's the best thing that I can tell you, mate. DLC, want to see you Dom a comp, no skipped events, max. Well, I tweaked my bicep on the first axle and the first time this year that I decided to do an event that I didn't have to do. And that should be really good evidence that if you want to see me at lots of shows, I did 9 this year. I can't be doing things that I don't have to do. I have to pace myself. If I've won an event, I can't do extra because, and I've struggled with this because I understand that the average strongman fan it's not a wealthy person. It's so hard to make ends meet for an ordinary and even a middle upper class person right now. And you guys save money to come out to these shows. And I respect it so much. And I want to do everything I possibly can to put on a great show. But now I also have to realize that, let's say I have a show in 3 weeks. Well, if I hurt myself doing something I don't need to there, I'm going to disappoint all those people in 3 weeks who are also people who are trying to make ends meet and have saved a lot to come to the show. So it's a really unique, difficult rock and a hard place. But when I'm pushed to max, I will go to max. So I will do everything I possibly can to win a show. And I worked my absolute heart out this weekend, and I did finish the event. I didn't temper my effort in any event. I think I was pretty much at max on deadlift, and I really tried to put in everything that I possibly had. I hope you guys can see that. And that's one of the things that I pride myself on the most. When I need to make something happen, I will absolutely try my heart out to make that happen. Aiden Poops, what a name. Thank you very much for the super chat, mate. When you start to feel demotivated during a gym session or a comp, what do you do physically, emotionally, and mentally to really lock in and put those negative emotions aside? I don't often feel demotivated during a gym session. At competition, it can happen for sure, especially if you have a bad performance. And I have a very, very high standard for myself. So you guys would see there was a few expletives on the live stream, and I'm not happy that was seen. I'm not happy that I did that, but I'm very competitive with myself. And when that happens, for me, the best thing I can do is put it in the context of how important is this really? And for me, in the hierarchy of life, the health of my family, the health of myself, things like our mental well-being, our emotional well-being, our financial well-being, all of that stuff comes beforehand. And those are the things that really matter. And frankly, the gym started for me when I was 16 and I wanted an escape. I wanted something to make me feel good. I wanted a physical outlet. And I'll never forget that that's what the gym is to me, regardless of what level of strongman I'm at or what I'm trying to accomplish. So maybe just lean on those things and think about, why did you go to the gym in the first place? And if you have a day where you can't lift the weight that you want to lift, well, maybe it's a good day for a bodybuilding day. Maybe you can work on your conditioning or something where a little bit of effort will get you further, where on a day that you just don't have the strength, there's no amounts of effort that's going to bring it on. So that's my best advice, but hopefully you don't have too many of those discouraging days. Jexy, is there anything you do specifically for your knee health? That seems to be my limiting factor in the gym lately. No, nothing specific. I don't have knee problems that much, other than just general soreness in my knees. One person to look to is called Knees Over Toes Guy. He promotes strengthening tibialis anterior quite a bit, and I've shot content with him. He's a very smart guy. I don't mind that approach at all. Ankle mobility affects knee health a lot, but your movement patterns do as well. So if it's a constant chronic limiting factor, I would say my best advice to you is get a coach, someone who can assess your movement, assess your strengths and weaknesses, and then work with them to be able to improve your movement that's leading to your poor knee health. Remy, thank you very much for the super chat. JF was so static strong before injury. Did he have 500 kilos in him? I don't know, to be honest. He left just as I came in, so I didn't know him intimately in his numbers and whatnot, but he was incredibly statically strong. I don't know how well he got on with a suit, and I think that would be the ultimate answer. If he really got comfortable in a suit, then I think it could be possible because he is so strong in the deadlift. But if he couldn't get on in a suit, I don't think anyone could pull 500 without a suit. Not Thor, not Trey, not JF. I don't think that's possible from any person that I've seen at the moment. Joe, thank you very much with the super chat. Strategy, timed farmers 20 meters with a 10-meter D-turn. Heavy. I am not sure what that question means. I'm sorry, mate. I don't see a follow-up to that. But thank you for the super chat. We're rolling through a lot of super chats right now, and thank you guys very much for your generosity. But I don't know how to answer that. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. I think I understand. Time farmers 20 meters with a 10-minute turn, D-turn. I'm going to assume that means you're going around a cone. There is a strategy for this. So if you're doing a farmers, and if this isn't your question, I'm sorry, please elaborate, and I'll do my best to answer that. But if you're going around a cone, you're going to take a little bit of a wide path before the cone. And when you turn, the biggest challenge is that the farmers are going to try to continue to turn you. If you just tap them on the ground, that will completely stop the momentum of them overturning, and you don't really have to break stride. So keep the farmers in your hands, keep solid, keep steady. As soon as they start to point down the course, if you tap them down and you take off right away, and just a tap, don't set them down because it's going to take too much time. Tap them and you'll be able to continue on as fast as you were before. Remy, thank you very much for these super chats. What kind of money can a medium level pro strongman make compared to a continuous winner? I got a eye bulge from Liz in the background. Not much. It's strongman's very much, if you're at the top, you can eat. And if you're not, it can be very difficult. So I'm gonna assume. Okay, I'll say a couple of things. If you win every major strongman show in the year, you can do the math. You make about $600,000. If you come fifth in every show, and I put a video out about this, fifth in every show, that's Big Four and Giants Live and Arnold UK, you make about $50,000. And for everything that we sacrifice and do and expenses associated, it's not a practical living. If you're talking about someone with a pro card who isn't at the world level, who isn't going to the big shows, you really can't make money at the moment. It's very, very difficult. The only way that you possibly could is if you had a really good social media following, you hooked in with some good sponsors, and you had a YouTube channel, stuff like that, and you became a bit of a social influencer. But if you get into strongman with the intent that it's going to make you rich or create you a living or an extra source of income, it's certainly going to be an uphill battle without significant effort on the social media side. David Clausen, thank you for the super chats. If one guy dominates a sport like you've done this year, it could push the others and lift the overall level of the sport, or it could demotivate them and make the sport stale. Thoughts, predictions? I agree. Those are the two possible outcomes, and those are two outcomes that I'm trying not to concern myself with. All I'm concerning myself with is improving and getting better. Look, I'm not winning every single event. Someone on Reddit put out something of who's beat me in events this year, and there's a list of about 20 guys who have beat me in individual events this year. Let's not act like in my 8 wins, I won every single event in every single contest. Of course, I'm incredibly consistent. I've done really well, but the other guys are not as far off as you guys might think. And one good year, sometimes recency bias gets to us. But if we think about the reason that a sport grows, in boxing, without Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, it would be a different story. Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, those people. Without Tom Brady and Jim Brown and O.J. Simpson, in a way, like football wouldn't have grown to the level that it is. Without Tiger Woods, golf would not be what it is. And all of those people dominated their respective sports. So I don't think domination is something that leads to a sport getting worse, even if the domination continues. But I'm worrying about just continuing to do my thing. And the other guys seem to be making decisions to make themselves better. Now you have to follow through. You have to execute. We'll see. We'll see. It's ultimately up to them. And I hope that they continue to rise to the occasion and push me further, and just, we all see how strong we can get. That's why we're in this in the first place. And that's what you guys want to see as well. The Drano, thank you very much for these super chats. Congrats, Mitch. You've done fat loss, cardio, and strength. What discipline will be next after strongman in the future? I've said this on the Shaw Strength podcast. I want to do an Ironman, and I want to document the path from strongman to Ironman and back to strongman. And when that happens, I'm not sure, but that will be my next thing, is a little bit more of an ultra endurance test for myself. Which it's still cardio, but in terms of physical qualities, I don't see developing maximal power as that different from maximal strength. I don't really see a muscular endurance component that excites me. CrossFit is certainly something that I'd be open to trying at a higher level. But there's certain things that I have to get around. I'd have to learn some gymnastics and more efficient with Olympic movements. And that could be a foray a little bit later in life when I'm focused a little bit more on being healthy and fit. And I'd still compete just for fun, but just to see where it goes. Ivan, thank you very much for the super chat. I don't see an attached question or anything, so I'll just have to say thank you very much. Remy, thank you again for the super chat. Jeff Capes, rest in peace. He was fast like yourself in moving events. Have you ever considered doing a yoke for Guinness records and setting a world record? I've been asked to go to Guinness World Records and go to Italy, but it just doesn't make sense for the amounts that the amount that they're able to pay versus the injury risk and the time away from home and the flights and whatnot. Financially, it just doesn't make sense. And my body is my business at the moment, and I have to treat my business as good as I can and recognize that that's going to take a toll on all three of the things that I find important, which is life stress, nutrition. That messes with all three for virtually no return. Well, relative small return to other competitions and ventures that I have at the moment. So unlikely that I'm going to go set a world record. But yeah, Jeff Capes, rest in peace. I don't know much about him. I was asking Laws and Liz about him a little bit more today because, yeah, he was clearly a legend of the sport, particularly in the UK. And that's someone who I've benefited from massively indirectly without even knowing him. So huge respect for him. And it's a shame that I didn't have the opportunity to meet him in the category with Terry Todd, for example, and a few other strongmen who passed prematurely, who I hope that I'm doing them proud and continuing the sport in their vision as well. Joe, heavy 20 meters with a drop turn at 10 meters timed. Okay, well then you go 10 meters, you drop it, you turn around, you pick it up, and you go as fast as you can. It's simple as that. No real tips or cues about that. You just got to have strong hands and fast feet. I'd say the only thing is when you drop those farmers, you got to make sure that they're not V'ing at the front. Because if they V at the front, then they're going to be splayed open at the back. And when you turn, it's going to be very difficult. So a little bit more engagement from your lats to make sure that they're nice and steady and straight. Yeah, that would be that would be my best piece of advice. Make sure they're straight and close to you when you drop them. B Sharp, thank you very much for the super chat. Strongman had some great names at your entry, but many guys face injuries that are keeping them out. Lysis, Novikov, Kiliskovsky. Any new names in Strongman to look out for or see as future competition to you? One of the things that really bothers me the most is when people act as though the standard of competition now is substantially lower because I'm doing well, where I believe I'm doing well in spite of the competition being deeper than it's ever been. You can point to guys like Brian, Thor, and Eddie in that era and Zydrunas. And of course, they were unbelievably strong. But if we look at guys like Tom, guys like Thor, now that he's back, guys like Evan, and what all of those guys are physically capable of, the standard is very, very high and continues to improve. And more so than ever, if you look at the 10th best guy in the world right now, whoever you consider that to be, and compare that to the 10th best guy 10 years ago, they are worlds apart in terms of capability and capacity. The one name that continues to come up right now is a guy named Reno Nell, who just won the Strongman Champions League finals. So he is the probably most interesting, most exciting person for a lot of fans. I don't know too much about his lifts and his numbers, but he has had tremendous success in the Champions League, and he could be a good one to follow. But the best place to look for the next best up-and-coming strongman is Official Strongman Games, which is happening in less than a month's time. In about 3 weeks' time, they will be over in Wisconsin, and that's where it's really the farm system for the guys who are coming up to World's Strongest Man. That's where Evan Singleton came from, Pablo Cordiaca came from there, Matt Ragg came from there, Jaco Schoenwinkel came from there, many others. They're not on the top of my head. Anyone major that I missed?
Did you say Luke Richardson?
Oh, Luke Richardson came through that pathway as well. So yeah, and actually Luke is a big one as he continues to come back from injury following his journey along. Jexy, thank you very much for the super chat. Have you ever heard of speed golf? You should give it a go, even just for a video. It's basically playing 18 holes, but it's timed and you run the whole thing. I've absolutely heard of speed golf, and I think that's really cool and really fun. That was definitely invented by a guy whose wife didn't want him to golf. Yeah, I'd be totally open to it, but I would have to be fitter first. Right now, I think if I tried that, my back would absolutely blow up from getting pumped from running and then trying to twist on the golf swing. So yeah, I would definitely give that a crack. But as long as I'm in strongman, that rotation followed by axial loading for strongman, those two just don't mix very well. So I'm going to have to opt into that in a handful of years' time. Andrew says if you don't see the super chat of people, they did post stickers. I'm just making my way through them all, mate. All right, and I've got 5 minutes, so I'm going to answer as many super chats as possible. American Builders, ever get gassy on stage? No, I've never had that problem on stage. I keep my nutrition pretty simple, and I try not to change much the day before shows to avoid any sort of digestive discomfort. Also, Danny Lanus, any thoughts on squat width? Does raw wraps affect this? Also, had to shave my mustache and I lost strength. Please advise. First advice, get that mustache back. You have to get the mustache back. Mustache is power. I honestly, I think people thought beard had the power, but I believe all of the power is encompassed on the upper lip. And I get the ventilation from the rest of my face, the advantage of the power of the upper lip. I believe that is my secret to my success. Now, squat width. This is so personal and based on hip anatomy partially. My best advice is to try out a handful of different squat widths. Generally speaking, and this is true, but the closer your feet are and the more you point your feet forward, the more quads you will use. And the wider your feet are and the more splayed out they are, the more glutes and hamstrings and low back you're going to use. So does raw wraps equipped affect this? A little bit. Raw, you're going to want a little bit more help from your glutes and hamstrings. Wrapped, you're going to want to dive into those wraps a bit, so a little bit narrow and more forward. Equipped squatting is something that I don't have experience in, so I can't speak to that one right now, but that would be my best advice for the moments. Paris, thank you very much for these super chats. Great to watch you at Rogue. My son Lewis loved watching you win and meeting all the strong men and women. I think 2024 is greater than 2018. Hubby ordered LHBK. The brand, the Lift Heavy Be Kind brand has gone so crazy this year. I'm so thankful for many things that it's been able to gain traction, but that so many people are wearing a message that I love to put out there and I think is really important in the fitness community. Yeah, I don't know. 2024 Mitch, 2018 Thor, we're definitely close to each other. I believe I went 8 for 9, and in international shows, I believe he was either 4 for 4 or 5 for 5. I also set a world record this year. He didn't have a major world record that year. I don't know how that all shakes out. I'm just privileged to be in the same conversation with such a legend of the sport and very happy to call him a friend as well. Remy, thanks again for the super chat. Another one. I feel you have entered strongman at strongest point of athletes. Thank you for making Canada proud. You have made strong so exciting. Yeah, thank you very much. And, I think there are guys and legends of the sport like Zadrunas and Brian where at the top, if they were in right now, it would certainly make things very exciting, but it's definitely the deepest competition it's ever been. And when it's the deepest, you're going to have more and more guys coming out of the woodworks and becoming that tall poppy to be able to come up and challenge guys like myself. Ivan says, can't wait to see you on a bike. Your aerobic capacity, raw strength to be able to grind will be something else. Yeah, I'll invest in a really good bike. Hopefully I'm big enough to work with triathlon companies, but regardless, it'll be a great personal pursuit. I'll just have to probably lose a ton of weight to work on my hill climbing. Anders, congrats, Mitch. Love your message, LHBK, and your tutorials on YouTube. Thank you very much. I do my best to put out the best content possible. And I hope you guys recognize that there's different styles of videos. Some videos I put out there that true strongman fans are not going to like, to gain traction so that more people watch, so that we can go and grow the sport. Because frankly, if all you're making is specific strongman videos, you're not reaching audiences that aren't interested in strongman. So that's just accept that and understand that I recognize that I'm doing that, but I do put as much educational content out there as possible. And if you want more, I've pinned the comment from my members page. There's about 50 hours plus of me on different live webinar or live seminars, webinars, etc., breaking down virtually everything in strongman that you can imagine. It's $5 a month. It's not about the money. It's just about not posting things that are going to kill the algorithm and that you guys will love specifically, but YouTube en masse will not love. Last question here. Jace loves strength. Thank you, mate. Enjoy an OJ and yogurt on me. OJ and yogurt is the key to being strong. Thank you very much for everyone coming on. I am going to log off now. We're headed off for some dinner. Thank you very much, everyone, for your super chats, for your interaction, for watching, for your support, everything. Until next time, lift heavy, be kind, and go enjoy an OJ and yogurt as well.